Shut up and sit down.
My BC clap. Have you seen me yet in my BC clap? To get your tools out, you can come and tweak these sets. I got a vicious cycle. I'm riding it right though. The places that I go, the kids go psycho. Grips in my hands, rolled under my feet. One day we'll be taking over the streets. The raps get brought out, the jumps are right. You get easy.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand,
Sir Ian Gibson,
Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. Here is another Chinese proverb for you. A crisis is an opportunity riding in dangerous wind. If life is crazy upside down for you, make sure you always look for that opportunity. It's there somewhere.
Gold frame pedals to match. This beast is thinner than a model and the wheels don't detach. So saddle up, got a seat that's made of leather and velvet. Purple flames painted on the side. I see you in helmet.
When I drink Bang Energy, I feel like I can see other people's words.
Because you're reading a book.
Hi, welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von During, and I'm here with Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler. Hello.
What's up, cheater?
I'm here cheating. What am I cheating about?
I heard about you on the news, dude. You were cheating last night. We'll talk about that later, though.
Those crowds were just AI'd.
Yeah, that's right.
And so were those lines that he took. So, all right. To his right, the one and only Sir Ian Gibson.
Yeah, token British guy, pseudo knight of the British Empire.
Yes, perfect.
Awesome. And coming over to us over the Verizon Airways, FaceTime Apple stuff.
It's not a long airwave. The airwaves are not that long.
Oh,
0.2 miles.
Do we run like an Ethernet Cat 5 cable down to your place?
Yeah, we should do that.
Mr. Matt Legrand.
Quarantining.
Quarantining.
Pleasure to see you guys. What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? All the old intro stuff. But yes, quarantined here.
You look diseased.
You're not sick yet, but the rest of your family is. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm highly likely to, I'm surrounded by COVID.
Are you feeling okay? And you're just being cautious?
Decent.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've been feeling pretty decent. I mean, I'm not being that cautious. I know you guys have races and stuff coming up, so better be careful.
Gotcha. You know, I've probably mentioned this before, but my family, my wife and my kids have had it a collective 13 times, and I've never sequestered myself from them. I've never said stay away, nothing to that effect, and I still have not gotten it. So it doesn't like me.
What the hell?
I don't know.
You've never gotten it?
I've never had it. No.
You need to get some of that immunity to your shoulder.
I know
hip.
people will sneeze on me and I'll break into a million pieces because I'm built of glass. But hey, when it comes to COVID, I'm on. I'm gonna finally get all fit and everything's gonna be dialed in, and I'm gonna be the right weight, the right FTP. Everything's gonna be perfect, and I'll get it. It's just wait. Just life giving me the big giant middle finger.
Gonna be face down on and intubated.
Right.
Hey, let's jump into some backpedaling real quick and go into the. I don't know what I want to call it, if it's going to be a topic or not, but we got something kind of lined up. We'll see. But
No, we don't. We're completely faking it today.
Hey, Matt, why don't you start us off? You've been on adventures.
I always start. What have you guys been doing without me? I listened to what I've been doing this past couple weeks. I went to South Carolina, where it was a cool, blisteringly cold, 98 degrees and 1,000% humidity.
Oh my gosh.
And
South Carolina in the summertime is not pleasant.
it was brutal.
It's sticky.
It was quite sticky. I saw a lot of alligators, which was something.
Really?
And I ran every day, which was great. Some of the days I ran with my older brother, who is a podcast listener. Shout out to
running
Dave.
from the alligators.
You run from the alligators in a zigzag pattern because they only are fast in forward direction. So, and then after that, we spent a week in Ionia, Michigan. So for those of you guys that don't know where Ionia, Michigan is, it's you hold up your hand when you're describing Michigan. That's like a rule in Michigan. If you don't abide by that rule, you go directly to jail. But we're right in the middle of the Palm, just middle of. Really, it's the middle of nowhere. It is a rural community, and we were out on farmland, basically, where my wife grew up, which is awesome, usually, except for everyone had COVID. So we had extended family, 103-year-old grandmother. Everyone got COVID.
Oh no.
It was brutal. But yeah, somehow I dodged it, but I figured I wouldn't show up in person and infect you guys just in case I come down with it the next couple of days. So, and again, even in Ionia, I ran every single day, tons of dirt roads. You guys would love it because it'd be perfect for like gravel biking.
Oh, nice.
But I was just running there, which I like running on dirt roads. So I'm happy camper when I get to run on some dirt roads. And I just made some new loops and had fun. It was good.
Cool. Ian, you want to go?
Yeah. Well, both Lance and I had a racy kind of weekend. We drove to Central Oregon and took part in the Cascade Classic Criterium right in the heart in downtown Bend, which was a blast. So much fun.
I saw some videos and some pictures.
Yeah.
It looked like it was a good time.
It was an amazing production. I mean, they closed the whole of the city center down. It was full on. There was crazy prize money for the Pro 1-2 fields.
$3,500 for the winner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Both men and women.
That's fantastic.
Even though I got second place out of the 60-year-olds that were racing, and I still earned $50. And
Yeah.
Lance and I went out to dinner.
He bought his dinner with his prize money. It was fantastic.
Pro cyclist.
That's right. Yeah. But it was a fast race. It was a great course. There was crowds. There was, well, Lance probably say more, but yeah, we had a good day.
You don't want to hear mine. You're the one who did well in the race.
We both kind of did a mid-pack finish. But
We did.
I feel like it was one of the fastest, hardest, most competitive races. It was difficult to overtake, and it was just staying on with those guys. I came away pretty satisfied that we finished it in one piece.
Mm-hmm. It was a freaking riot. I mean, as far as crit races go, it's the best crit race I've ever done because it was right downtown. The whole town was blocked off. It was an 8-corner crit. There was a whole bunch of corners. It wasn't wide. You couldn't go through corners like 4 wide. It was like 2 wide. At the most you could do going through corners. And this 50 and 60 field was just stacked. So me and Ian are just like hanging on in the back. And the course was only like 0.8 of a mile. So we did 32 laps or something in 45 minutes. I don't know. It was
wow.
And I mean, everything fenced off. And because it's downtown Bend on a Saturday, there were thousands of people out.
Far more people than racers, huh?
Yes.
But that's the way it should be.
And most people like, what's going on down here? And then you walk up to the fence and like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm going to watch for a minute.
Yeah.
Because somebody goes by every minute and a half or something like that. So
cool.
But yeah, so much fun.
So
just going into those corners at 30 miles an hour
Yes.
with a bunch of guys, it was...
The city seems like they rolled out the red carpet for this.
Yeah,
I mean, they didn't
absolutely.
hold back any punches, and Horner sounds like he put together a pretty good race. It does sound like it could have been better attended.
Yes.
Is it just because it's in August and people are all over the place, you think, or maybe
Correct.
temperatures, or
it was Horner's Foundation that was helping put it on, but Molly Cogswell is who actually did the race.
Okay.
Horner helped with the course. Bart Bowen helped set up the course. They haven't done this race for 7 years, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
And to bring a crit back that was just a standalone crit, not part of another bigger race, was
Matt his house just fell down.
Matt's blocking his window.
Yeah, that's funny.
Sorry,
It was
letting a light in. Sorry to shake the house on you, Lance. Keep going. Continue with your race.
I think some of it was that, most people were racing from 45 minutes to 70 minutes, I think. And Central Oregon is a long way from a lot of places.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, people would come up from California, it was like a 4-day stage race or a 3-day stage race. And so it was worth the journey. But a lot
Was
of
that
people
part
were
of the
wondering
Cascade Classic? Is that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully, I hope they weren't too discouraged with that. I really hope it's going to become another a regular feature on
So
the calendar
if-
because it's so well put together.
Yeah,
It's
if you put
great.
on your promoter hat and you were to make this a little bit better to attract more people, what would you do? I mean, would you make it kind of an omnium, kind of a weekend kind of thing, or have
That's a good
something else
question.
out there that you can couple with it to make it more?
It's really
appealing?
hard to fault anything those guys did.
Well, no,
but-
I think that you probably wouldn't change
Yeah.
anything with respect to the actual criterion because
I
it
think
sounds
they-
like it was
right.
fantastic. But
Yeah, but probably you're right. If it was part of a longer weekend of racing, people
Yeah.
may feel more inclined to make the journey, I guess. But
I mean, it's generally not too hard to twist people's arms to go down to Bend because Bend is friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
But it is a long ways to go just to do a 45-minute, 2-hour race.
well, I was on the fence about going until Lance said he was going, and then I'm like, damn.
All right, let's go.
Let's do it.
We drove
So
down
here's a
together.
question for you guys: would you go back?
Yes.
Next year, are you definitely
Absolutely.
a go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's proof in the pudding right there.
Yeah.
So hopefully
No,
more
it was
people
the
will
best
join
race all year for sure.
It was just so fun.
Yeah.
All the tight corners, going fast, riding with people you know can ride, trying to hold wheels, trying to make a move off it was just fun road racing, not just sitting in a pack for an hour and a half and then trying to sprint.
You have this amazing sense of speed. Okay, 30 miles an hour is not fast, I guess, but it seems it on
Well,
those narrow roads
when
with
it's
all those
tight like that,
guys.
yeah.
Tight, and you're just trying to hang on.
Yeah. It sounds like it was a lot of fun. I mean, there's a lot of racing at Swan Island, which is where they do a lot of the crit racing here, and for good reason because it's wide, it's easily set up to be a race, but it's
safe,
not
yeah.
technical at all. It's safe,
Right.
but in the same breath, if it's not technical, it makes the race a little bit more boring. Maybe there's not as many opportunities to get away, or like the things that you can play in your favor in a crit race.
This was it was a technical course,
Yeah.
and
More
that's
so,
why I
more so
liked it.
than like the Vancouver courthouse crit. More technical than that, or
faster.
Faster?
Yeah, more technical. I think probably a little narrower. Not
Narrower for sure.
It was hard to move up,
okay.
mainly because it was always moving so quickly. And also, like Lance was saying, that it came one corner after the next. It was a classic Criterium, and it's just like you got to get around the corner, and then you got 5 seconds to try to move up through the field, and you can't always do that, right?
And you can't dive bomb a corner, or you're
No.
going to crash four
Yeah.
guys out, including
Yeah.
yourself,
Yourself,
and
yeah.
hit the fence. So it was, it made strategy a whole lot trickier for sure.
I feel like it's like advanced bike racing. It's like
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
it was hard, not just physically, but you have to concentrate. You have to. I don't know,
You have to
kinda-
be.
you
You
have
have
to
to be
be-
fully engaged.
Yeah.
You can't I'm gonna take
Sit
a
and
sip
chill down
of
for a
water.
while,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
chill back here for a bit. No, you're like,
It's intense.
But that's the way good bike racing should be.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to go do a race that's just going to be boring. And like anytime you try and do something, it just gets answered immediately. But if there's something technical in there where you can play that to your advantage, or if you've got the ability to burn matches that people don't have in areas that require a little bit more technical bike handling skills and a little bit of like gamesmanship,
Yeah.
that's fun. And when it becomes like playing chess and being able to, do all the different things and utilize the skills that you got, that's when it gets fun.
Yeah.
the 32 laps that we did, there were 8 preems.
Wow.
Where they gave away $100 or a backpack or gifts or something. And we were one of like 24 races that happened that day, and they had preems for all the races, which was pretty cool. So I did take a couple flyers trying to go for preems, and no, did not win any preems. But I did lead a couple laps.
Big shout out also though to our teammate Christina Gray, who worked on the front of her race
Yes.
for the whole 45 minutes and still came away with a win. So,
She is really strong.
She's
I know.
really strong.
Like she's come out and done the flogging
Yeah.
ride, and she's in
And
the
she's
A group,
done-
and she's just holding her own. It's awesome.
lots of experience, and she just knew how to ride that course. She was
Yeah.
great.
Good.
Yeah.
A couple of cool things. The pro race, Tyler Williams came up from LA.
Really?
And won the pro race. So yeah, I think $3,500 was like worth it. Tyler Williams rides for Legion of Los Angeles. He's not one of the Williams brothers. But he also is on Legion of Los
On the
Angeles.
roster, yeah.
He's on the roster. And so he came up and ended up winning the race, which is pretty cool.
Now, was that $3,500 split amongst first, second,
No.
and third, or was that solely for the winner?
First was $3,500, second was $1,500,
Oh,
and
wow.
third was $1,000. And that was the same for men and women. Who won the women's race?
Yeah, even our little race was $150 for the winner, right?
That's fantastic.
Alexandrine Obrand. And like, there's 3 names on here. Yeah, she came up from California too, Palo Alto.
Sweet.
So that money brought some people in. The other thing they did, Matt, which was kind of cool, at like 2 p.m, they held a 1 mile running race.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they had all these little kids races. They had, regular Obra categories, but then they had like a scooter bike lap, a push bike lap.
Yeah.
And then they held a running race, a 1 mile running race. They did 1 lap of the course. And so it brought in a bunch of runners as well. So, I mean,
1 mile, huh?
Do you remember who won?
No, I have no idea.
We left to get
This is a
food by
running
that point.
podcast, Lance.
I know I'm so terrible. We're not to that point yet, and we'll see if Champ Bailey knows. No.
But Champ Bailey might know because he's more of like a running enthusiast.
It's not on the results page that I have. The running race isn't on the results page.
Oh, darn. Right on.
But there's some heavy hitters, just like cycling. There's heavy hitters in Bend for running.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's a good town.
Awesome. Anything else? Are you whose back pedal was it? That was
This
that Ian's
was
that was
Ian's back
hijacked
pedal.
by Lance, or was that
Now,
a combo deal?
Your
or-
turn, Lance.
It also got into a little bit of like race results too. So we're way ahead of ourselves.
We're way ahead of ourselves. I was really trying to help Ian in this race, and basically all I did was not get dropped.
And that was close.
And that was very close because I took a couple, I led a couple laps trying to win some preems, but I wasn't really trying. I was just trying to kind of string it out and see if somebody would gift it to me. They didn't. And after one of those, I almost got dropped as like an attack went. And so I barely hung on. And then the last 4 laps, I was trying to move up so I could kind of help Ian try to lead him out. And we were a group of like 15 or 16, 17 people at that time. And the race started with like 30. So we had dropped a whole bunch of people.
Were they pulling people off course?
They did pull
Okay.
people off course, yeah. So we started with 30 and we ended up with like 17. And those last couple laps as I'm trying to move up, we were going 30 miles an hour through all these corners. I just couldn't move up. I needed to move up earlier, and I just blew it. And so I finished dead last in the final sprint.
Yeah.
So that made it pretty crazy. But that was very fun. So I would definitely go back. Me and Ian had a great day together because it would have been cool to have 15 dialed people down there because I know people can ride some crits, but it's summertime. So
Yeah.
it's all good. And then last night, I actually went and helped with the triathlon on Sunday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you went out there to
help
pump up tires.
To pump up tires. I did go help pump up tires. So I was just helping with the mechanical support at the Girlfriends Triathlon on Sunday because Cameron, who was doing it, who is our shop employee, she was doing the relay race, and so I needed to cover while she was doing that. So it was fun to be out there with all the triathletes. And
Did you pump up some tires while you were
pumped
covering?
up hundreds of tires. No, hundreds. I pumped up a few tires.
Gotcha.
Yes. So and it was an all women's triathlon, which is it's very beginner friendly, and a lot of women who would not want to go to a regular triathlon were trying this all women's one because it was just a little less pressure. So it was great that Y Racing put on that event and had all these people out there. And so
It's the first one I haven't been out to work at in 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know. It's been a while now.
Was it well attended?
yeah, the Columbia River Tri was the day before, and that was co-ed. That was a much bigger race than the Girlfriends triathlon, but I want to say it was, I don't know, there was 150 people out there, something like
It's
that.
probably more than that. It's usually really well attended.
Yeah,
There's a lot of women that'll come out and do it again the second day.
Yeah.
They'll back it up, or just a lot of women, like you said, that are new to the sport that'll go out and try it for the first time. So it's really cool that way.
So that was fun. We are recording this on a Tuesday. Last night was the last Monday night short track race at PIR. And so this was the 6th in a 6th race series, which was kind of fun. I lined up right on the first row. I showed these guys the video of my start. And I completely botched the start again for the second week in a row. And so I ended up going like into the single track in like 12th place or something. I just did not do very well, but for the start. But I ended up working my way through the field and ended up taking the win. So, but not without a whole lot of work. It was kind of funny. I've been kind of low-key trying like several different types of starts because I'm just trying to toy with it a little bit to see what might work better. And clearly the last 2 weeks,
those are on the do not use list, right?
Do not use. I've been trying like right foot down or left foot down or dropper post seat down or dropper post seat up with different combinations and just which one is the most comfortable getting into it. And since this race series wasn't real important, I thought it would be good to have an actual real world, because you can practice your standing starts, and standing starts are really important in cyclocross and in mountain bike races because it can make a difference if there's not good places to pass.
So when you say standing start, like a track stand kind of thing?
No, you can't track stand. You have to have a foot down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is like they blow the whistle and you don't like roll out like we do in a crit or a road race.
Yeah, 0 to 60 as fast as you can. Yeah,
full gas as hard as you can go.
So what's your preferred? I know what mine is. It's a no brainer. But
my preferred is right foot down. But the start grassy area was slanted from high on my left to low on my right. So I was trying the other direction because it was easier for me to keep my foot on the ground. So I was trying left foot down. That didn't work. I botched it both times. I did left foot down.
I'm about 99.9% of the time left foot's on the ground, right foot's in the power stroke position.
Oh,
it's like one strong push with that leg and then follow through with the left and then usually clip in right away. And I've won a few hole shots with that.
I'm the opposite of that.
Yeah.
I do the other.
Does your drop foot have any bearing on this?
It does. Yeah. So it's easier for me to clip my drop foot in than to not have it clipped in. So
is that why you choose the left foot to be clipped in?
Yeah. Because my right foot is the drop foot.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. It would seem like it'd be the other way, but it's more comfortable for me still to...
You got to go with what feels best.
So I was trying the other way to see, can I make a difference? Is this going to be good? Nope, that did not work.
So the series is over.
Series is over.
Score on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like best ever. What do you give them on... And kind of break that out in terms of like overall course, vibe, fun, the whole bit. I mean, can you kind of break it down that way or maybe give them some constructive feedback?
I think overall, I don't want to upset people.
Well, for starters, Kevin Blair did a fantastic job for him to bring it back and invest what he brought to the table to the whole thing. Granted, he gets to use it for cyclocross as well. I mean, my hat goes off to him. That is awesome. I get the sense that he's the kind of guy though that would be open to some constructive feedback. Yes. Hey, it would be great if, fill in the blank. What would you kind of throw out there? I don't want to be critical of him all because I don't think he deserves to have criticism thrown at him because he did a fantastic job. It was like we have to heap praise on the guy and say thank you. But what would you like to see made better?
I'd give the whole series probably a 6.5 out of 10, maybe a 7 out of 10 because we have it back.
Yeah,
that makes me happy.
It's like getting a 600 on the SAT just for writing your name on the paper.
Right. The course was probably a 5 out of 10, mostly because there wasn't a whole lot of technical stuff, and it was very difficult to spectate where we were set up at. But that will change in time, in following years.
Things that are happening out at PR where they're reconfiguring things and moving things around and making new places to park and do all that fun stuff, right?
And because of that, there wasn't like a good area for spectating. There wasn't a good area for like team tents or for... Like you couldn't really have a team tent like on the course because there just wasn't a spot for it. But things will change next year when we'll have a different parking lot on the other side of the venue. The course was really bumpy initially because it's
not bedded in. It's just
not bedded in
fields.
At all.
I mean, yeah.
So that will be improving too. So vibe at the races was probably a 6 out of 10 as well, just because it was hard to gather and cheer and scream. And it's not quite like short track of old, but we don't have a venue like we've had before. So the short track course up at Washougal was much funner to race and much more a better vibe. But
when you have a world-class motocross venue that you get to go on and use the track, that's kind of hard to beat.
Yeah, it's hard to beat.
But the problem is nobody wants to drive out to Washougal, unfortunately. And it does take a little bit of time to get out there, but the reward is fantastic. It's worth the payoff. The payoff is worth it, so...
The great thing about this is Kevin has this property for the foreseeable future, so he can do with it what he wants. We should be able to have a short track series for the next 7, 8, 10 years, as long as Kevin wants to do it. And it will just continue to improve and get better as time goes on.
And I have to imagine that everything's going to bed in. People are going to get the vibe. He's going to get things situated better. More people will come out and do it. People are going to be excited, and that should draw more people in. But what can the community do for Kevin other than signing up and doing some races to make it an even better experience for everybody?
Volunteer to help course build. Will help, because there will be more days to help course build.
Do you think he's open to suggestions in terms of features to add to it? I mean, you don't want to have the same course every single week, but if you've got things out there that you can play with, that would be kind of fun.
That'd be cool for him to do.
So if anybody's got like a dump truck full of dirt that they want to donate, I'm sure Kevin would take that.
He just had 400 yards of dirt delivered. Not the $20,000 he spent before the race series started, but midway through it, he had another 400 yards of dirt. Maybe it was 1,000 yards. I can't. It was something ridiculous. It was a lot because he's trying to improve where he's doing the course. So
that's what I like about him. He's like he knows it's a work in progress, and like sometimes it's better to start before you're done, because knowing him and a lot of us people that are kind of putting ourselves out there, like you don't want to wait until you think it's perfect, because it'll never be perfect. But if you're just constantly working on it and at least you got the ball rolling, that's something. Something's better than nothing.
Yeah, there was a moment in the race last night where I took kind of a pidcock line, and I got screamed at by some competitors, which was fair. I didn't hit somebody or take somebody out, but there was
went off what would be considered the beaten path or the line,
correct.
and you kind of made your own line, but you got permission.
I did. I noticed the line in pre-ride that it wasn't bedded in like the regular ride, but it wasn't blocked off by cones or course tape. And so I went to Kevin and said, "Hey, there's this section right here. Are we allowed to ride that?" And he just is like, "Is it marked off with cones or tape?" I said, "Nope." He's like, "Yep, you can ride that." And I'm like, "Nobody's taking it." He's like, "I know."
Yeah. So just for visual sake, like if you're going straight and then you would think the fastest point between A and B is going to be 2 points, right? Just a straight line. This one kind of like it veered out right a little bit and then kind of came back around it. So it just kind of like deviated from that straight line.
There was a 90-degree turn around a tree
and
that
Lance
the course went.
Lance took a line that was to the left of the tree that was much, much, much straighter and was able to pass, 2 guys, maybe even 3?
I passed 3 guys on the first lap right there after my botched start. And then somebody's like, "Hepler, what are you doing?" And as I'm racing, I'm yelling, "I checked with Kevin. He said this was legal." And I'm like, "Damn it."
And then after that, everybody promptly took that line.
Yes.
What race were you guys of the night?
We were the 3rd race of the night.
So do you think people saw the lines that you guys started taking and then that became the new line that people were taking?
And it started to track out, so you could see that the line was being taken. When the juniors were going through, the junior leader came through on the first race of the night, and I'm like, "Ezra, take this line next time. I checked with Kevin. Tell me if it's faster." He came around, ripped through it, and was like, "Yep, that's way better." So I'm like, "Okay, that's it. I'm doing it."
Cool.
So anyway, that's the race. I did win the series. I won some very cool bright yellow gloves that I will flex and ride at some races, wear at some races that say Monday Night PIR on them, which is all kind of cool. So thanks for the prizes, Kevin, and thanks for putting on the series. So good times.
Cat 1 next year?
Yes, I will be racing Cat 1 next year. I don't think I'll actually have a choice, actually. So my sandbagging will end unless they change it again. So.
All right. Do you think you'll get an email, or do you think it's just going to be, "Hey, Hepler, don't register for Cat 2 anymore"?
I think that I'll get an email.
Yeah. You've been upgraded.
Yeah. I had that conversation already with Chuck Kenlin, the Oprah executive director.
He already told you it's coming?
No, I like exchanged some texts with him, like, "Hey, what are you guys gonna do here?" And I'm like, "Are you gonna upgrade like 6 or 7 of us?" And I'm like, because most people aren't gonna upgrade themselves, like me. And he's like, "Yep, emails are coming."
Sweet.
So I just called Chuck out too. So we'll see what happens.
Right on. My back pedal real quick, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. Last week was kind of like my planned down week, a rest week, if you will. I was planning on getting somewhere between 8 and 10 hours in. I only got about 5. And that was because I ended up being pretty stinking sore after that little snafu that we had last Tuesday. So lost my front wheel. It was just a little miscommunication, and my knee was pretty sore.
Bounced off the pavement,
and my hip got to be a little sore, which is concerning to me a little bit. But I gave it some days off. My knee was super swollen. I think I talked to you about the other day too. But my knee, it was probably a good 50 to 60% bigger than my good knee. Ouch. And I was feeling some pain behind my knee. I'm like, I've never felt that pain before. What is that? So it's been pretty sore, and it's still kind of difficult to squat down on. But as the days go on, it's feeling mildly better. So I can squat down a little bit better today than I could yesterday, and so on and so forth. But we recorded last Thursday with Marley, and I don't think I rode that day. I didn't ride Friday. I did come home from the coast on Saturday and jumped on the trainer for about an hour and felt okay after about 10 minutes or so. But ended up taking Sunday off because we had a little shindig at our house for my daughter who's going away. And then yesterday was normally my rest day, and I was going to try and ride yesterday, but again, life is too stinking busy right now, boys. So anyway, I'm going to get back after it tonight and go do the Tuesday night gravel ride.
Oh, good.
Gravel flogging, and we'll see what happens. I'm either going to implode or I'm going to feel fantastic. So, all right. Let's move on because I am boring to talk about. All right. You going to drop some cycling news on us there, Mr. Champ Bailey?
Yes, I am. Champ Bailey is here. We've got some races to talk about. I think the biggest thing to talk about is the Tour de France Femmes.
Yeah.
Avec Zwift has started. So we are 3 stages through. It is Tuesday as we record this. The day 1 was interesting. They started in Rotterdam, so it was in the Netherlands. So the first couple of days are been in the Netherlands, and there was a bit of I guess it wasn't a real surprise, but what was the gal's name? Charlotte Kool, a Dutch rider. She ended up winning that first stage in a pretty fantastic sprint.
She can sprint.
Yeah.
She is fast.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
She got out there. Lorena Wiebes was really wanting to win this stage and had her whole team behind her, but she drifted into somebody near, like with the last couple 100 meters to go, and ripped her derailleur off.
Oh no.
And so she ended up just floating across the line, and she was like in tears and upset, but that's racing. So Charlotte won.
Needs a transmission.
Yeah, right. So day 2, which was today, they actually had 2 stages today on the same day. Yes, they had like a 2.5 hour flat stage again, where actually Lorena Wiebes did not break her derailleur and sprinted heads up with Charlotte Kool again, and Charlotte Kool won again.
Wow.
Yes, by literally like 8 inches or something.
Still though.
But still. So pretty awesome. She won 2 stages. She was in the yellow jersey. And then they rested for like 3 hours and then did the individual time trial. So that's what they're doing in this Tour de France Femmes. So the time trial was only 6.5 kilometers long, short.
Really?
Yeah, literally like a 7.5 or 8 minute effort.
How do you guys feel about that? I mean, A, doubling up, and then B, like it's short, which means you got to go even harder. It's like full red line for a short period. Granted, you're going to do that anyway in the time trial if it's like, 10K, 12K, 15K, whatever it might be.
I was disappointed that that the time trialists couldn't really like lay it out there. And the fact that it was a second stage on the day and it was only 6.5 kilometers long.
Did they have any gripes about that?
I don't know. I haven't heard whether they're gripes about it.
I kind of feel like they should get the full pomp and circumstance of having their own tour, and they shouldn't be trying to squish it down like, oh, we got to get this thing going and make sure it's done and get all the stages in. I mean, I don't know.
It's crazy.
I don't know.
Matt,
how I feel
what
about
do you think about that? Did you watch any of it?
Yeah, I haven't seen any of it yet, but I was wondering what you guys thought about it, because there's been some publicity. I feel like Zwift is a big sponsor of this event, and they've been pushing it really hard. And I kind of want to tune in and watch some of it. So I want to actually look and see when some big climbing stages are coming up. It's only 2-week race, right? It's not a 3-week race.
It's only a 1-week race. It's like an 8-day race or something. And the first 3 days are like all in the Netherlands. Then it moves into France, and it finishes with a stage that ends on a climb up Alpe d'Huez. So the final day and the finish line is at the top of Alpe d'Huez. So that will be a very exciting stage.
Cool,
yeah. So last stage and all that. So I think that's this Saturday, if I believe.
This Saturday or this Sunday?
Yeah, it's either Saturday or Sunday.
And that's what they did last year, not finishing on the Alpe d'Huez, but in terms of like the length, it was just a week or 7 or 8 days.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you think that that's a little unfair, a little unjust?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Because we clearly have seen that women are just as capable as men, and they deserve their own grand tours just like the men do. I think it's a matter of getting sponsorship behind it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what the numbers look like in terms of viewership and spectators and see. I mean, just be honest, it's not going to be as big as the actual tour, the men's tour, if you will. But I'd be curious to see like how well received it is, and cycling's beloved over there, and people love women's sports. I don't know.
Today's time trial, there were fans lining the entire course.
That's great.
So
Good job, people.
There were a lot of fans there, and it was also in Rotterdam.
Yep.
And so the Dutch people love cycling, and so whenever the Tour de France goes outside of France, you end up getting a lot more people coming. I don't know. So that was kind of cool. I didn't even talk about who won the time trial. Chloe Dygert laid down a fantastic time. She's the current world champion in women's time trial, but she got beat by Demi Vollering.
Really?
Demi Vollering beat her by 5 seconds. That's how close it was. Demi Vollering won in like 7.5 minutes, and there were 3 people tied 5 seconds behind her. That's because it was a freaking 6.5 kilometer time trial. So
Was
short.
it flat?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Well, Chloe obviously went on, and you're probably going to talk about this, but in the Olympics, she went on after the time trial there where she had a little wipeout, and she was bronze, if I'm not mistaken. But she
still
went
took
on
third. Yep.
She took third, but then she went on and started racing on the track, and it was the pursuit that she got a gold medal.
Team pursuit, the U.S. won the team pursuit.
Yep, and she looked like she was pretty solid there. Does she have any hangover from that spill that she took? Because I think that she was a little sore from that.
She was pretty sore. I don't think so. She's laid up. And I also didn't think that Kristen Faulkner was going to be there, but she's also in this race. She's at the Tour de France Defense, and she took I want to make sure I get this right. She took 5th today in the time trial.
What about in the first 2 opening stages?
She was in the field sprint.
Okay.
So her and Chloe both hadn't lost any time because they were field sprint.
So they're still moderately close. They're within the hunt.
Yes.
Good for them.
But Demi Vollering took the yellow jersey
after the TT.
After the TT.
Okay.
Because she won by a few seconds. So kind of exciting. Yeah. So it's exciting racing.
Tune in and watch it, people.
Yes. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Other than that, there is a prep race happening before the Vuelta, and Sepp Kuss is actually kind of crushing it.
He's looking really good.
Yes.
The Vuelta starts this weekend, correct?
Vuelta starts this weekend.
Yeah. 3-week Grand Tour.
3-week Grand Tour. And interestingly, Wout is also going to be doing it with Sepp on Jumbo.
They're going to turn Wout loose on
Lisa Bike.
Yeah.
Visma Lisa Bike. Thank you.
They're going to turn Wout loose. He wants to win some stages.
Yes.
So do you think that he wants to kind of go and maybe be GC?
Well, they've said that Sepp is the leader of the team, but we'll see what Wout does.
Yeah.
So
because he was wanting to do that at the Giro. And obviously we know that he crashed out, and then he went to the Tour and looked, by Wout standards, looked a little bit pedestrian.
Yeah.
But you have to think he's probably starting to really find his form right now.
Yeah, and he did great at the Olympics. Other than he crashed.
Yeah.
He crashed in the road race, right near the end. That's why we didn't see him
in the mix.
In the mix at the very finish. But he was also working for Remco, who won the Olympic road race, Wout was the one to chase down Van der Poel, which actually Van der Poel went, as soon as he saw Wout, stopped chasing because he wasn't going to drag Wout to the finish anyway. So he did the job he was supposed to do. So anyway, the Vuelta could be very exciting. So
maybe send some questions about that later on in this podcast.
Leading directly to our hot seat questions.
Camp out. We're done.
Awesome. Anything else, guys? Matt, you have any like runny stuff you want to talk about? Did the Olympics, anything stand out there for you?
Yeah, the Olympics were amazing.
Yeah.
We had so I was watching the 1500 and I was like, oh man, if we have 3 Americans in the finals for the 1500, and I was like, if there's any one of them, like if any of these guys could maybe squeak in there and get a medal, that would be huge for us. And to my surprise, the medals that we did get were gold and bronze.
Unbelievable.
So that was a big surprise in the 1500. A guy I really like from Michigan, actually, got bronze in the 10K and then also in the 5K.
Ryan,
there's some great
something or other.
I'm trying to think about on the women's side if there was anything that was really amazing. I feel a little bit guilty not talking about the women's side.
Other than
4x400 was just amazing. They just blew that out of the water. That was pretty cool.
U.S. sprints are hard to beat.
Yeah.
We did well in the sprints all along.
There was that women Hassan rider, I think was her name. She won the 5K, she won the 10K, she won the marathon.
What?
Yes.
She did the triple.
She did all 3 and won gold in all 3.
Okay, I missed that. I was mostly watching like replays, or I would go back and watch like a full replay of like some of the things were of interest to me. I just never caught that because I think that the marathon was late.
It was very last, yeah.
What country was she from?
Yeah. Well, it says Netherlands, but I don't know if that's exactly true.
She's from an African nation, but she has a Dutch passport, or she's a Dutch citizen.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So yeah, but yeah, that 1500, that men's 1500 race is one of the few times in the last year while I was watching that I actually jumped off my couch and screamed at the TV. It was so exciting to watch, and it was so unexpected after all the hype and buildup was for the Norwegian and the English runner who'd been like
those two have been dominating
Yes.
and talking trash to each other for so long.
and the American
It was
wins.
fun watching him bounce around in the back trying to find a way out just so he can kind of open it up, and then all of a sudden he's just like grabbed another gear. He's like right by you.
He got lucky because he was stuck on the inside of the track. Yeah, Cole Hawker was like stuck behind Engelbret's, and then he was like there was just no way around, and Jakob moved over to the outside of the lane because he was worried about the British guy, and Cole just like snuck in there and won that one. He got lucky. I was thinking he was in a horrible position.
Yeah. I know that you're more about the longer distance stuff because that's your bread and butter. For the sprinting stuff, what's your take on this Quincy Wilson kid, the 16-year-old?
I think he seems like a good person. Yeah. And it's so cool. Like I felt like the relay team really rallied around him.
Yeah.
And just like you belong. Like yes, he didn't get to do the finals, but like they were very like you belong here. You could tell he did not have a good race.
No.
They were really like the team was really supportive of him. They made it to the finals, and that was fine because they did what they needed to do. So it was cool. And then you got to think like 16-year-old male, like 4 years from now, man, you would hope that
years
he
old down in Los Angeles. I think that kid's going to have some things to say down there. So, but that's pretty crazy seeing a 16-year-old kid making his debut. And like, it was funny afterwards, like him making a comment like, oh snap, I just realized I got to go back to school in 2.5 weeks.
He's got to go start his junior year in high school.
Exactly.
With an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah. And so I didn't understand. And again, I'm not a track and field person. You know, I like watching it. It's entertaining, especially with these athletes that are able to do these amazing things. But I didn't know that you could replace a runner. Did he get hurt? Because I saw something where it said maybe he had like a leg injury, but some other people said, well, maybe they just replaced him with somebody else. What ended up happening there?
I think the plan was basically to always replace him because there's another runner who was basically, I think he did the 400 hurdles and was a fantastic runner, but basically just had like too many events leading up. And
sure.
So the plan was, I think, always to replace him and have him be have him be the other guy ended up being like the anchor leg
Sure.
for the gold winning team. And so I think that was always the plan. But knowing full well that like, hey, if you help your team get to the finals, you do get to receive a gold medal. So it is cool. But it's not exactly like commonplace to replace a runner, but it's not unheard of by any means.
So 2 questions for you. Maybe you can answer these. The first one is, if you were Quincy, would you miss the ceremony, the getting your Olympic gold medal, or would you have been there to be like a part of that, to stand up on the podium with them?
They don't get to stand on the podium.
But they called out his
Yeah,
name
I
and
don't
they're
think
like
they get to stand.
absent. They said Quincy Wilson absent, and they just didn't. And you saw some of the other teams that they had more than 4 people up there. I don't know if you noticed that as well.
I didn't notice. Yeah,
I think if he missed on purpose, I think that's totally okay. I mean, to be brutally honest, he didn't have a great race, and he kind of put the team in a tough spot.
Yeah.
It's good that the team was fast enough to make it. And then after that, they were just so supportive of this young athlete that could have been like crying on camera, right? Like it could have gone a totally different direction.
Yeah. They embraced him.
And it did. They were really good and gracious. And I thought that, whether he's there for the receiving of the medal and stuff, I didn't think was necessarily a big deal. And who knows? Maybe he had to get back to school. I have no idea.
Yeah. My second question, and you're going to have to put on your coaching hat for this one, is watching him run, his mechanics, they just don't look right to me. And I've worked with some kids, but I could be wrong. But he seems like he runs very upright. His arms are straight and they're kind of flailing all over the place. Would you change his running mechanics?
I think that was probably more due to the fact that his mechanics were breaking down in the last 100. Like if you watch the first 200 of his race, I think he was fine. And then at that last 100, he was really struggling. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a couple things. Like one, I think his season ended up being really long. Like you got to think about it. Like he probably started his season, unlike all these other pro athletes that like they're training for the Olympics. Like he had a high school season that he did. And then he did all of this, additional work. And so I think maybe his season was a little bit long. He's maybe fallen apart a little bit. I'm sure that it's very hard to change someone's running mechanics. Although with sprinting, you will typically work on that stuff.
Gotcha.
So I would expect him to have like very good coaches working with him on sprint mechanics.
Gotcha.
So
do you think he's going to, oh, sorry, this is the third question. I lied. There's one more.
No, go ahead.
Do you think that he's going to end up going to college? Or do you think he's going to come out of high school and go straight pro?
Ooh. I don't know.
If you have to ask me, I'd say go straight pro because you can always go back to college.
That hasn't worked out real well for a lot of young American
But
athletes.
if you've got the chance to get a payday and you run the risk of getting hurt in college,
you can get paid in college though these days.
Well, yeah.
Which is new. But here's the thing. I think that the U.S. collegiate system is so excellent that I would lean towards having a college experience. I also think that it depends on the next 2 years is a long time for him. If he is dominating at such a fashion that Nike's willing to throw a lot of money at him, then take the money. Yeah. But if he, is similar to where he is now and he's going to have some really good competition at the NCAA level, then I would think go take advantage of the U.S. collegiate system. It's a really good system.
Where do you think it lands for college? Where do you think he ends up going? Is he going to come up and race for Oregon because of Nike?
Like you said, he might not go to college. Yeah. I don't think that
if he were.
I think that it's a 50-50. If he goes to run somewhere, maybe he would go run for Baylor or
Alabama.
Who are some other really...
He's from Maryland. He's from back east.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So yeah, but they end up at Arkansas or Oregon
Sorry, I'm going to shut up now because I'm sure people didn't come here to listen to us talk about 16-year-old high school sprinters.
Jake, this is a running podcast, so we're good.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
It's a triathlon podcast. We got to talk about running and swimming next. Next, we're talking about goggles.
Gotcha. All right, anything else?
No, that's good.
All right, let's
That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot. That's hot.
A little hot seat.
I love our hot seats.
It's hot.
That's hot. That's hot.
All right, that's enough. Shut up. All right, who wants to go first? I think Ian might have a question for us. Yes, you said before the podcast because this is a hot seat because
and I had nothing, and then I just thought
you had something, but
I just thought, why aren't you guys coming to race criteriums? What's up with it? Not you guys. I mean, like our team, our local community. what's the hang up with criteriums? Go.
Don't you think they're scary though? I mean, there seems like the crashes are bad in criteriums. They're so touch and go. They're very technical in that way, and I think that well, this is just my, outside looking in, because I don't think I've ever raced one, but I would be scared to death to do one of those things.
Yeah. Well, I think there is a risk for sure with a lot of things that are fun. I mean, the risk reward ratio, I would argue, is pretty good. I mean, I've literally done hundreds of these things, road races, criteriums, and I have crashed twice, but in 10 years, right? And I separated my shoulder. I've had some road rash. I got a little concussion one time, but it generally it's not as dangerous, I would argue, as a lot of people make out. And I would also go further and say I've seen much worse injuries and more frequent injuries on people just doing training rides or group rides in particular. Like our flogging ride Thursday, you're on open roads, there's traffic, there's pissed rednecks in trucks. It's
rolling coal, baby.
Dangerous. Yeah. I mean, in a criterium, you're in a closed course. Generally you're with experienced racers who know how to hold their line. The consequences of crashing at 30 miles an hour, it's definitely real. But you're not going to get those awful life-changing injuries that you see associated with, being hit by a car, for example. And people are willing to be out on these group rides and lay it all on the line, So, yeah. So
I think that they just kind of come with a stigma, a little bit of a reputation, if you will, that's where the crashes happen. I mean, it happens in all forms of bike racing, and it just seems like when you're talking about road racing, that if I were just to put it out there, like what kind of road racing is going to be the most prevalent when it comes to bike crashes, everybody's going to say criterium. Because it's not if, but when it's going to happen. But it happens in all the different disciplines. I mean, heck, we've seen people crash in time trials before. Even Evan Price crashed in a time trial because he turned around and lost his front wheel. So, I mean,
in a time trial.
Our old friend Michael Myers, he had an accident too in a time trial. But it can happen anywhere. It just seems like it happens a little bit more often there. And I don't know. Is it scaled? Is it something like that's the most prevalent, and then road racing, or like circuit racing and then road racing and then time trials? Is that how it's tiered up and people kind of like show up accordingly? Is that part of the problem? Are we just losing
it was
people?
kind of a rhetorical question in a lot of ways. I know why people don't go crit racing, because they feel like it's dangerous.
Let me ask you a follow-up question to your question. Like, how can you go do a crit race and maximize your safety and minimize the risk or the odds of you being involved in a crash?
Be in the front 15 people.
Yep.
10 or 15 people, which is hard to do.
Yeah. And just you got to be super predictable. You got to know how to hold your line, and you've also got to be very keen about watching people, watching how things come together, and know like that could be a recipe for disaster. I think I'm going to be over here instead, kind of a thing.
I think they are. I mean, they're super exciting events, and possibly they are for the more experienced racer. You might argue, if you go, that, hey, I know how to race bikes. I know how to hold my line. I know how to corner stably and keep my concentration and realize that everybody else in that race, is kind of in the same position. Then I think it's time to step up your game and go do one.
Yeah.
And it's true. Every time I am gearing up for a criterium or a road race, actually any race, I feel the nerves, and I wonder about my choices. Should I really be doing this?
But as soon as they blow the whistle and it's on, that all goes away. And it's amazing, like the psychology behind that, how that happens. Like as soon as they blow that whistle, it all goes away. And like something might happen out on course and you're like, oh crap, this reality, I'm back to reality here. But just like a lap or two later, it goes away and you're back to it.
Yeah.
Unless there's somebody just laying on the course waiting for somebody to come scrape them up. But
Lance nearly went, right, you nearly got caught up in something
almost
on Saturday.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I've done dozens of crits and I've never crashed at one. So
better knock on some wood.
I know. I've come close a few times, but I've never crashed at one. However, go to a mountain bike race and I crash every third race.
Sure.
Something
But those are a little bit more mundane.
Down.
It's just you pushing it a little too hard around a corner and you lose your front tire kind of a thing. That's generally what happens, right?
That's generally what happens. There was one incident in the race where I was on the very back of the pack. So
tail gunning. Yep.
I'm tail gunning because that's just where I ended up. So, and the rider in front of me, Sal Kalura, I've raced with him a ton, so I trust his lines. I know he's going to like leave room, but he was coming around a corner and got pinched by another rider that I didn't know, and he actually clipped the metal barrier with his shoulder. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and
I just heard this yelp behind me.
Yeah, and I thought, dude, as soon as he clipped it, I was like, jumped left thinking we're both going to go down. But Sal saved it. Hell yeah, Sal. Good job. He didn't go down. And I'm like, Sal, I thought you were going to die. He's like, that mother effer. Anyway, so we were happy that there were no crashes.
But that's another good point,
race.
right? Know who you're racing with.
Yeah.
If you, you have to trust those guys. So
the more races you do, the more you get to know the people, you know their tendencies, and you know how things start to unfold. It is a little nerve-wracking.
And then if you're in that race and you can see people who are kind of sketchy, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm just going to stay away from that guy.
Sure.
You know, or call them out on it.
Yeah. It's been a couple of years since I've done one, and I think it was all of us in the Hammer Crit, if I'm not mistaken, or one of those races a couple of years ago. The very last lap, like I had somebody like that touched my rear wheel. It's kind of like a little rub or whatnot. That person saved it, which was good. So he didn't go down, but it really threw us for a loop on the second to last turn, right before the second to last turn. And I fell out of position and I was just kind of like spooked a little bit. And it kind of was in my head before the finish, but I still finished okay. I was on the podium for my field, but that happened. And I'm like, what am I doing out here?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And but I would go out and do it again, because those are fun. Racing out at PIR, you get a much bigger track. It's, what 2 mile course or 1.9 or something like that. And it's super wide, it's long, it's fast, it's flowy, it's all those things. But the people out there, for whatever reason, whenever I've done the races of late, those give me such nerves, because you get stuck in like you're boxed in and there's a bunch of people around you. And I just feel like they're not trustworthy people. And I feel like that there is like, I'm like, if I don't do PR anymore, I'd be fine with that. But it kind of sucks not to be able to do that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
PIR, yeah. I mean, probably it's like
it's not a
intermediate sort of step, because it, like you said, the course is much more open.
Mm-hmm.
It's wide. The corners are longer.
Mm-hmm.
There are some less experienced people out there, but it's a great place to learn the ropes. It is,
but I feel more comfortable racing because you'll get like 60, 70, 80 people out there in the race.
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable riding in a Criterium with like 30 people. I don't know what it is, because I feel like, all right, if I'm not liking who's out there, I can work with a couple people to string the field out a little bit, make sure I stay towards the front or not get gobbled up and stuck in the middle of all that stuff. So.
But yeah, and then there's criteriums and criteriums, like you mentioned, the hammer course that's wide. The corners are more gentle. Not quite as technical.
It's not.
Do you find that people take less risks when the course is more technical, therefore it's a little bit safer, and people are a little bit more keyed in? No, would it be the opposite, you think?
It's with the technical courses, you're so much more engaged. You're so much more focused because
you have to be.
You have to be. You have to hold your line and give that guy next to you a line too. Otherwise, you're both
going down.
Yep. So you pick things much more carefully when it's more technical.
Yeah, like I said, I kind of knew the answer to this question when I asked it. It's all about the danger and the danger of crashing, and that's real. But I still argue that the chances of that being you, relatively small, and it could be so much worse. Like the same people are putting it out there on these big group rides, and where the roads are open to traffic, and maybe oblivious of the danger that lurks there. Like I said, in a crit, you generally, with experienced people, you're on a closed course. There's no cars going to take you out. Yeah.
You just scared away a bunch of people from road riding. I think I'm going to get a road bike. I'm going to go ride with these guys. Oh, wait a second. Never mind.
Matt, you going to come do a crit with us?
Would you ever consider doing a crit, Matt?
I'm still not I mean, I think you have a compelling argument that it is safer than like a flogging ride, but I'm still not completely convinced, especially the other side of the coin is like where I am in a race is different than where you are in a race. Like I'm riding Cat 5s. I'm riding with guys that don't know how to hold a line. I'm riding on some wheels where, again, it's like, oh, I don't trust anyone in this field. Then you kind of have to ride harder and by yourself, and crit racing makes that tricky. So I don't know. Crit racing is like the least alluring race type for me currently. But you know, you guys did, you know, you described the race in Bend being really fun and attractive, and that sounds good to me. But I'm probably more interested in like, you know, a gravel race or even doing a road race. I find the road races, I don't find them, you know, nearly as crazy because they're longer basically, and people just have more time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the secret. You know, maybe that's what you should do is wait until you cat up, you know, into the threes or something, and then when you do get into that crit, you're with experienced people.
Yes,
the most accidents absolutely happen in the 4 or 5 field.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's a good question. Anything else that you guys would throw out there to make crit racing a little bit more, or just help it with its PR a little bit, just to get a little bit more appealing, a little bit more appetizing? I mean, I think the promoters seem like they're doing a good job. I mean,
they're fully closed courses.
Fun. Yeah. It's so much fun.
There's all kinds of prizes. They've got prize money.
Yes.
You've got the
They got podium girls.
Yeah.
There was podium girls at Bend, which was so weird.
That's funny.
But
were they just kind of having fun with it?
Yeah.
Yes, they were fully joking, but they were, you know, both in like sequin dresses with short skirts, and they were both in their 50s.
That's rad. I love
it. It was fantastic. It was funny. So.
But just a good atmosphere, and especially, you know, like we said before, it's right in town, and you've got people ringing cowbells, you got people cheering you. It's just fun.
Well, I think a good thing to get people to like want to go do it is to invite them to come out and just watch.
Yeah.
Like watch how it goes down, because you'll get a renewed sense of like, oh wait, this can be pretty fun. It's not quite as like treacherous or dangerous as I have it built up in my mind to be. And I think I want to give it a shot. I think that could be something that get people out there. So, and the other thing is there's some good YouTube channels that you can check out. Most notably would be the NorCal Cycling that I can think of.
Yep.
And they do like practice crit racing out in Alviso, and then they'll actually do the whole crit series that's in their neck of the woods with some big hitters, and they'll go to some of the bigger crit races, and it's a lot of fun to watch how those things unfold, because they're all a little bit different in terms of like how they play out. You get to learn all of the different little nuances and like the tactics, and you get to see what people are doing, and you get a sense of like what kind of fitness goes into being able to ride at that particular level, and you can kind of figure it out from the top down to figure out where you need to be. It's a
huge scene down there. The crit racing thing is a big deal. Yeah. It's a big deal in the US in general. It's a kind of American style racing, right?
Yeah.
And there's plenty of them. Like it's hard to find a good road race these days. But
one more quick question, because I think Matt would probably be the best person to ask this question, is what could crit racing offer that would entice you to say, you know what, I think I'm going to pin on a number and I think I might want to go give this a shot? I mean, aside from like saying you're 100% not going to crash, what would be something that would make it appetizing for you to want to go try?
Great question.
Money.
And I'm struggling to come up with an answer for that. Probably some spot kind of race where you basically have, and I feel like they do this in like cyclocross, but I've never done it. But like somewhere where you could be like, you're gonna do a couple of races that aren't races, where someone's just gonna like walk you through it.
Okay.
You know, where you ride with an experienced rider, and everyone's in this race, and they don't even call it a race, where they're just like, this is a participation kind of thing, and we're going to talk you through like, hey, here's how you take this line, follow my wheel here. Like if I rode with the 4 of us and you guys were like, okay, Matt, like watch how we take this turn, and like that was like, it was almost like a discussion on how to do it as opposed to a race scenario. That would be something where I'd be like, oh, I want to do that because I want to learn, right? Because I think a lot of people are in that same boat where they want to learn how to do it. but they don't want to learn in the middle of a situation where someone's riding unsafely.
Yeah,
So,
they're going to get judged, and they don't want to have people barking at them. They don't want to cause a riff or a crash or anything like that. So that's a good point that you just made.
yeah.
So like a little bit of a clinic almost, but it could be at quasi race pace. I mean, they do that out of PR with the novice field.
Yeah.
They'll have people go out
Yeah.
and like coach them, if you will, to ride along with them and give them a bunch of different like suggestions in terms of like, all right, this is what you could do better, or make sure that you're following this person this way, or this is how you communicate things. That could probably play out pretty well. But that, again, is just time and resources. But I'm sure if they want to get more people out there, then that might not be a bad idea to start that out at the beginning of the day. And I have seen this before at some of the races, but have them come out and do the clinic. And then if they feel comfortable, then they can go sign up on site and do that 5 race.
Yeah.
It could be fun. And
Totally.
worst case scenario, if you're not liking it, if it's not your thing and you're feeling uncomfortable, just fall off the back. You don't have to finish the race either. You can just kind of pull yourself out. And it's not a huge expense. It's not like going to a triathlon where you're spending, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It's just what, 30, 40, 50 bucks depending upon the race.
Yeah.
Just call it and say, been there, done that. I'm moving on, or I know what I need to work on, and I'm going to come back and make this thing be mine. I'm going to own it. It's going to be my B. That's a good question. I like it. All right. Who wants to go next? Lance is pointing at Matt.
I got a really easy question for you. Well, actually, it comes with some caveats. Okay, so Vuelta España starts this weekend, I think. Who are your picks for winning this baby? And your answer has to start with Sep and has to end with Kuss. Okay.
Oh.
Go around the table. Who are you guys thinking?
I'm picking Sepp Kuss.
Sepp Kuss.
Okay. Good. I like that.
Roglic is going, right?
Roglic is going.
I'm not taking Roglic.
Sep, Roglic.
I'm not going to take Sepp just because Lance took him, and he and I always take the same person. I'm going to say that Sepp's going to say, "Wow, it's your turn, buddy. We want you to win a stage or a Grand Tour, and maybe I'll go out and take a stage or two, and I want you to do more than that. Let's support you." So I'll say, "Wow." That's going to be a long shot, but I'm going to say, "Wow." How about you, Ian?
I haven't even seen the start list. I just learned yesterday that it starts this weekend, so I don't know. I think Roglic is...
It's like Roglic is, I think, rumored to come back.
Yeah.
Richard Carapaz would be another guy that would be maybe someone he's been a little bit healthier than Roglic. I don't know.
Yep. You have to think that Ineos is kind of pissed at the way that their season's gone thus far.
Yeah,
they're going to probably put
season.
some pressure on some of their guys. So you might want to keep an eye on them to be a little bit more of an aggressor, just to see if they can get somebody in GC and hold that. I don't know.
I don't know if they have anybody. I'll go with Roglic.
Roglic?
Roglic.
Okay.
I can never say that.
How about you, Matt? Who are you taking?
Sepp Kuss. Come on.
Sepp Kuss. I want to see him defend, though. I mean, you got to love Sepp Kuss.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah, I would enjoy that.
Yeah, Alameda, Adam Yates, Carapaz, they're all on the short list that are going to be there that could potentially be
Adam Yates,
favorites.
that would be a really good pick.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, it's a good one. Watch the were they going to be streaming?
NBC and Peacock, I think.
It's Peacock.
Is it still on Peacock?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where you can watch the Femmes, too.
Gotcha.
Is on Peacock.
Go watch it. Cool. All right.
Have you been watching every morning? You just kind of like wake up and turn it on, or?
Yeah, I have been. It's
Good.
only been two mornings. But
I thought 3.
No, they had 2 stages today.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Lance, you got your question?
I do have a question. Is there a better off-road cyclist in America than Keegan Swenson?
No.
One.
Right now.
Yeah, I just watched the
Did you?
Leadville
Yeah.
yesterday.
So apparently Champ Bailey is terrible. He didn't even talk about Leadville, which happened on
Champ Bailey.
Saturday.
That guy. Good thing he's gone. Good thing that guy's not here anymore.
But Keegan Swenson did defend his title, won Leadville for the 4th time in a row. He was actually trying to break his previous record, but he flatted like in the first 30 miles, and he just rode his flat he rear flatted, and he just rode his flat until the first aid station where they swapped out his wheel. He was also on a drop bar bike. He took his...
That's a big thing, right? Like,
yes.
This is a big discussion.
There were 4 or 5 people that put drop bars on their hardtails or their full suspension bikes.
Who's our friend of the podcast? He posted
Dylan
something on
Johnson.
Instagram.
Yeah, Dylan Johnson also rode a drop bar bike at Leadville. It's Leadville's chunky enough that you really need some suspension, and it's long enough that it'll beat you up if you're fully rigid. But there's so much pavement in it, and so much stuff between climbs that a drop bar bike can be beneficial.
So to your question though, I'm sure he is the best at those long endurance events, right? Because that series is a mixture of mountain biking and gravel riding, right?
That's correct.
But if you put him in like the Olympic mountain bike race,
well, he was.
How would he fare there against Pitcock, against all those guys?
Riley Amos and Bjorn Riley, it's a couple of guys that just raced fantastic for us. If Keegan actually won the U.S. Mountain Bike Championship like 2 years in a row, so he did focus on World Cups until it became more lucrative to chase this, the gravel thing than to do the World Cup mountain bike racing. But yeah, he would probably mix it up with those guys or beat them if he did. But yeah, but he ended up winning this year by 15 minutes. Still, again.
Yeah, over.
I think your question was
under
like
5 hours, right? Or just under 6 hours.
5:49.
Yeah.
If your question is best U.S. off-roader, I think that's an easier question to answer. And I think that there's an argument to be made when you start talking about internationally that there's probably some guys, that are out there that can really do some interesting stuff. I mean,
right. I wonder what would happen if Pitcock lined up against him in Leadville.
Such a good example.
Right?
I think Pitcock would crush them. Maybe not crush. Yeah. Maybe not.
That's an interesting thought.
But that would be a race.
Yeah.
Pitcock and Keegan.
Who's a better bike handler there? I mean, not that bike handling makes all the difference in the world in that particular race, but I mean,
that's a toss-up.
Yeah. You think so, huh?
Yeah. Pitcock is extremely good.
He's good, yeah. And we know he can go long.
Extremely good.
So.
I think he would win. I think Pitcock would win. I think other people like Wout could potentially do well in that. MVP, all of those guys are superstars, and they can do long races, and they definitely know how to handle their bikes. So
what would it take to get those guys to go out there? Just a big giant purse?
Yes.
Yeah.
They make too much money from their road contracts.
Yeah.
That it's not worth risking their road contracts to go.
Time of the year, though, is not
timing as well.
And timing.
If it's given where it's at, they just had it this past weekend. If you're not going to be doing the Vuelta, you could do it because obviously the Olympics aren't every single year, so they're not going to be in a position where they're like fatigued from doing the tour and then going straight into the Olympics. I mean, there's some time where it could be a thing. Just takes a big sponsor to throw some serious money on it to say, all right, you know what, it's worth it. It's worth it for me to come out here and do this.
Lance, are any of those guys, those big guys, racing Steamboat this weekend?
Yeah, they all are.
They all are. Yeah.
Like,
are they going for the lead boat?
No, that's not really a thing anymore.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
No, but they made lead boat a thing when they were a day apart, where they would do Leadville on Saturday and Steamboat on Sunday. Gotcha. So but most of those top 10 guys are all going to be at Steamboat. Yeah.
Ouch. Can make people hurt.
Yeah.
Cool. Good question.
I should mention that the women's race was won by Melissa Rollins. She beat Sophie Gomez Villafane by a few minutes, which was pretty amazing. Melissa is actually from Salt Lake City, and her parents used to race and do Leadville for years, and she finally went and did it with them as like a junior. And so when she started doing it well enough that she decided to line up, and now she's come back and actually won the race. So also a really great story.
Cool.
She won that. So good on you.
Drop bar or flat bar?
No, flat bar.
Okay.
I don't recall seeing any of the top 10 women on the drop bar bikes.
Huh. That's curious. Would you ever switch your gravel bike to a drop bar for any reason? Or not your gravel bike, your mountain bike? Your mountain bike, yeah. Are there any courses that you can think of like
No.
No?
I'm too fragile.
Any races that you did this year on a mountain bike that would have maybe fared a little bit better with a drop bar bike? Like say Sisters or something like that. Isn't that pretty mundane? Not mundane, but pretty tame in terms of like technicality?
But corner faster on my mountain bike
Gotcha.
than with the seat down.
Uh-huh.
I guess I could have a seat down on that, but I corner faster on my mountain bike with flat bar than I do
Okay.
a gravel bike. So I don't know. Probably not.
All right.
That's it.
You want my question?
Yeah.
So there's even more scuttlebutt. People coming out and asking even more questions about Tadej being a juice, and I already told you he's not. So don't worry about that. So we just know that he's a new superhuman that can cruise along at 7 watts per kilogram for 45 minutes. Not a big deal, right? Could Tadej win the Tour de France on Pantani's bike from 30 years ago?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
I mean,
everybody's say that straight out.
Everybody's crying about him beating Pantani's time by 4 minutes or something like that up the whatever climb that was. Granted, there's a lot to be said about things that have changed in terms of coaching and nutrition and just recovery and just the whole preparation process. But I think the biggest thing has to be possibly the bike. But if Tadej is going to win the Tour by as many minutes as he did, what happens if you put him on a bike from 30 years ago? Does he get crushed?
I think it's not the whole bike. It's particularly the gearing. I think that those.
It's all.
Nobody would ride a 25 tooth cassette out there.
1125.
Yeah.
Which is what they did.
But my question is,
nobody rides that style anymore. And Tadej
being Tadej, because he said that this is the best he's ever felt, that these are the best numbers he's ever produced during this tour. He was spot on. Could he have won the Tour this year on Pantani's bike? Would he have been competitive?
No, negative.
I don't think so either.
No,
I think it makes a huge difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you think, Matt?
I think also no. There's the gearing is one thing, but also think about tires and tire width. Those guys were riding pretty firm tires, and it's not comfortable. And you saw athletes back in those days, like they just crumbled a lot more than they do now. And I think riders these days are a lot more comfortable on the bike. And I think that plays a big role when you're talking about a 3-week race. The weight of the bike is another thing, and yeah, you guys mentioned gearing for sure on some of those climbs, which I think, there's a couple of things to think about. Like, is he going to train on this bike also? Or are you just like swapping out his carbon road bike, like on the starting line for Pantani's old, whatever
you want. You create a scenario where you think that he can be competitive or win. Does it happen?
I think he would have to train on it to have any chance. You give it to him like on the day of the race, then he's really uncomfortable, and it's even worse. But no, I still think the answer is I think no. I don't think technology has played as much of a role in nutrition and all the other like excuses for not doping that we have. But I do think that bikes have come along enough that it would play a major role. And yes, he did win by, was it like 6 or 7 minutes or something? What was it?
Yeah, 7 minutes and like almost 12 to third place or something.
Yeah.
But you got to think like there's so many little things that he barely won where he got like 10 seconds for winning, 10-second bonus for winning this stage and this and all that. And especially, and then you start to think about like, well, in a time trial situation, he's going to lose significant time with an older bike. So I don't think that he wins it if he has older technology.
So almost all the time he got was from these really explosive attacks he did close to the top of these climbs, and you couldn't do that on a heavy bike with a 25 tooth cassette. You couldn't make that kind of jump on people. I don't think.
Do you think he even finishes in the top 10?
Was Pantani riding an aluminum bike or was he on a steel bike? He's probably on an aluminum bike, right? I mean, those
30 years
those
ago
bikes might not be as bad as we remember.
I don't know. I think we need to get the specs on Pantani's bike to find out exactly what that was.
Post down tube shifters. I think it was
bar shifters.
Bar shifters.
Okay,
but
I
think it's gearing.
I would love to see how he fares. It's never going to happen. They're never going to do it. But I stumbled across as somebody was asking that question or talking about that with respect to the bike being that much different. And they're right. I mean, if you go jump on a bike that's 30 years old, you're going to be like, ooh, this doesn't feel good compared to like what I'm used to riding now. But I mean, if you ride on it long enough, you'll become acclimated. But if you train on it, if you're fully acclimated, you're freaking Tadej Pogačar, who's just a specimen, not doped. I just want to say that he can still be competitive. I don't think that he could win the Tour though on that bike. I think that makes that much of a difference. I mean, they talk about the marginal gains. I mean, those are like quantum gains in terms of like where bikes were at then to now. So I think that if he was going to be that disadvantaged by the equipment that he was riding, I don't think that's going to work out. Plus, go ahead.
It's the Plateau de Billiers or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so that was 1998 that Pintani set that record. Is what I'm seeing, and I just want to see if I can find out what bike he was on.
He was on a Bianchi. I found it. It's steel. It looks like.
Yeah, it's like a butted steel frame kind of thing. Yep, that's what it looks like. Yep, it's got
and
the.
We all know that he was clean as a whistle. Also, Tadej and him are both clean.
Yeah, I don't think that he can pull it off, but I would pay good money to see that. Wouldn't that be kind of fun though? I mean, just have like a fun race kind of thing. I don't know.
He needs some kind of handicap.
Oh yeah,
I think
I'm looking at this bike too, Lance. It is definitely steel is real.
Yeah. Would you guys ride one of those in a race?
Dude, I rode a couple of years ago. I rode up the Mortirolo Pass in northern Italy, and sort of a third of the way up there, there's a big statue of Marco Pantani at the side of the road.
Really?
Yeah. And that was one of the stages he took. Was one of his famous wins was up on the Mortirolo, which has sort of 2 kilometer sections of 12%, and it's a real climb. And I could not imagine. I rode up on a 34 tooth, like a 36, 34 type of setup, and it's all I could do to not. I mean, a lot of that way I was paperboying up it. It was that steep, and so those guys that basically rode in the big ring up those things, incredible athletes.
Yeah. That's tough riding those old bikes. I've got an old Bianchi. It's a 1955, and I've ridden it a couple times on our Fog Hat ride, which is our social ride. And anytime it goes up, I'm like, oh my God, how did they do this? Because this is what they used to race back in the 50s and the 60s, that particular bike. I'm like, they rode this thing in the freaking Tour de France. These guys are animals. How did they do that? So you say something, Mr. Hepler?
It was aluminum. Okay. It was not steel.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference. That's a lot lighter weight.
It's going to have a little bit more flex, so it's probably going to be a little bit more compliant than a steel frame, if you ask me.
Double butted tubing, but it was aluminum.
Aluminum. No helmet.
No helmet, no hair.
Save a lot of weight. No hair. Save a lot of weight going without that helmet.
All right. Well, that's
there's a little spot for his cocaine.
That's the hot seat for the week. So let's go ahead and move on to one last thing. Matt, you usually start us off. You want to do the same?
Yes. I posted a video recently about like a health tracking ring that you guys can check out, and it was from company called Ringcon, and it will also kind of detect sleep apnea if you want it to.
Interesting.
I think this ring is a good one for people to look at just because it is a more affordable ring. I think it's currently like they're doing like an introductory sale for the launch event that they did, and it's like $209. So if you guys are like, I want to try a smart ring, but I don't want to like invest a lot of money, like this might be a really good option for people to consider.
If somebody goes and watches your video, obviously they can learn about it. Is there a link to the product in your description with maybe a possible discount code? Did they give you a code?
They have this like introductory discount thing. So it's normally going to cost $300 and it's on sale for $209 for like the first, actually I think till like tomorrow or something. Wow. Like it's almost like done with its introductory 2 weeks phase or whatever. So if you really want this thing, go check it out and snag it quickly and save some money. Because they're doing it through Kickstarter, so they're offering a discount that way.
That's cool.
There are other ones. I'm testing this one right now, and it's called. Well, I guess I should put on like a different ring, but it's called the Amazfit Helio ring. And this one, like if you were to not wear a watch, you could use the ring to track your heart rate, and then sync it with your smartphone application. So this one has a couple of things that are a little decent with it. That review will probably drop in another week or two. It's okay. I probably wouldn't be my first choice for people. And And then I have a ton of stuff that I really need to work on. I have like 2 cycling computers. I have the Garmin 1050 bike review, like to get out, and I have the Hammerhead Karoo 3, which is actually turning into like a long-term review just because I've had it for a while now, and that's an awesome device as well. And then I have a watch video to get out from Sunto, which is going to be a really nice option for people. So I have a ton of stuff to work on, and I've got cross-country stuff kicking up. So just got to find time or quit sleeping.
I'm sure you came home to a mountain of work and you're like, oh my God, where do we even start with this thing? It's just one bite at a time, I guess.
It's a lot of, it's surprisingly a large amount of work for cross country, because just like there's a lot of stuff to get organized before the season starts. It's going to be a busy fall for sure.
Ouch. All right. Ian, you want to go next?
Sure. Last thing. This is basically the end of the road racing season here in Oregon, at least. PIR tonight's the last one. I'd love to see some teammates come out. That's always fun. This weekend, continuing the Criterium theme, there is Criteriums both on the Saturday and the Sunday.
Two chances.
So if you're not going to come and race it, it's local. Both those races are really accessible. Come down and watch. It's exciting.
Same place down at Swan Island?
There's Swan Island. The Red R Crit is happening on, I think that's the Sunday, right? But on the Saturday, there's the Portland Criterium.
Oh,
and
okay.
it's on the park blocks right downtown
Portland
again. And
that
it's going to be
great.
Yeah,
great.
It's going to be the same route that they used last time they were down there? So no, I'll just be quiet.
I'm not going to race it. The categories they only have Masters 40 plus. And I'm just gonna get
those young whippersnappers too
I'll
much for you.
get gapped, and I would get pulled off the course for that.
Gotcha.
But I'll probably go down and look at it. I mean, it's going to be.
Did they fix anything with the road? I heard that the road was pretty.
I don't know.
Pretty bad last time, but I don't know. Hopefully
they haven't done it in several years. They didn't.
They did it 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. They were on schedule to do it last year, but they canceled it for something like that. And I just know that some people were talking about how they felt the road was really beat up. So
anyway, that's the last of it. Cross is coming. The road race season is wrapping up, so this is your last chance to get involved. Come out to PIR tonight. Love to see you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm jumping in the adventure van bright and early tomorrow morning and headed to Steamboat. So I'm doing Steamboat Gravel, which is this Sunday. I'm doing the 103-mile course, the blue course, the baby course, the kiddie course. Got a couple teammates that are going to be out there with me. Chris Surratt, Don Schloth will both be there. So we're looking forward to that.
Andy, right? Andy Levine.
Andy was, but his plans ended up changing.
Oh, okay.
So it'll just be the three of us. So
nice.
We should have a good time. I do not do that great at elevation and Steamboat's at almost 7,000 feet. And so it should be an interesting day for me. But it should be
How much climbing is in that 103 miles?
It's like 7,000 feet. So it's not a ton, but it's enough that it'll be a challenge. After that, I'm actually headed back to Moab, and I'm going to ride the White Rim Trail, which is a 100-mile mountain bike route. But I'm doing it over 2 days because my college buddies are four-wheeling it in their Jeeps. Mm-hmm. And so I said, hey, if I come, I'm going to bring my mountain bike and ride it. And they're like, sure, we don't care, whatever. So I think I'm going to do the White Rim Trail in Moab.
Drop them on all the descents and yell at them to wait up for you on the climbs?
I will probably be much faster than they will rock crawling. They're going to be rock crawling, and I'm going to be ripping on my mountain bike.
Giddy up.
So
cool. All right, my one last thing is we've got the Tuesday night gravel ride coming on tonight, and then we do our lunch ride, but the flogging ride coming up on Thursday will be the third to last for the season.
Oh.
We've only got 3 left, so if you've been thinking about wanting to come out, or if you've missed a few, or you're just wanting to go out and do some race pace riding, and that sounds like your jam, come on out and ride with us. We will be doing our normal 4-group things where we start at 6 o'clock and leave with a different wave every 5 minutes until the last group goes at 6:15. We all regroup at the halfway point up there at the Hawkinson Middle School, if I'm not mistaken, if that is what that is, right? Anyway, and what's cool up there's a little girl that actually knows somebody that does this ride regularly, and she asked him probably like a month ago, was like, hey, if the guys and everybody and the gals and everybody that does this race, if they go there and regroup, if I set up like a little water stand, do you think people would buy like water from me, maybe some cookies? And he's like, yeah. And like, so he tells me about it, and I let everybody know, hey, bring a couple bucks so we can support this little girl. So she was set up there and she was selling waters and cookies. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And then like the next week she had like water, cookies, blackberry lemonade. She had electrolyte mixes and she had all kinds of stuff. I'm like, that's awesome. You're a little entrepreneur. I'm going to 100% support that. So every time people go up there, they've been really good to her. And it's been super cute watching her kind of like have super good times with this. And anyway, she's been up there every week. So bring a few bucks if you come out and you want to support her, even if it's just get a water. If you don't want a cookie, you can buy somebody else a cookie, whatever. But it's really neat to see
Give her
that.
a buck for being out there.
Exactly. But we've got 3 of those left, and then they will be wrapping up it's right around like Labor Day. In the past, we've done kind of like a curtain call ride where it's not necessarily the flogging ride that leaves in the same intervals, but we've gone up. But Lance and I have been kind of playing around with something else, and I think we're ready to put it out there. We're going to go try and do something different out by Vancouver Lake. There's a little loop out there that's 2 miles, 2.1 or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's just over 2 miles. And there's a spot where we figured that we could have everybody park, and then it's a neutral rollout for about a mile, so you can warm up your legs, and then we'll maybe do a neutral lap just so everybody can get it, and then it'll be some hot laps. And we're gonna kind of do it's kind of a little bit of a circuit race kind of a ride. And I think that would be a good place to go because, with it being after Labor Day, all of the traffic's going to die down. Not that there's a lot of traffic out there anyway, but it'll be less excuses for people to be out there. We're going to have to start a little bit earlier because we're losing daylight. So it'll probably be like a 5:30 start time, but we can get out there. And I think that we can get quite a few laps in before it starts to get dark, and we shouldn't have to deal with much traffic. The little road that we're on for most of the time is almost no cars out there.
There's no cars.
And then when you're on the Lower River Road, it's a wide road, big shoulder, big bike lane, and it should be safe for us to
it's
go.
all right-hand turns. Right?
All
right-hand
turns,
100%. It's
dead
just
flat.
Yeah, it's just like a big 2 mile
Maybe
oval.
that's where we can do
track.
the crit clinics.
Yes,
That was where I was going, Mike.
there you go.
So
Man, I just served that up for you guys, like clinic thing. You guys are like, yeah.
So
Got you covered.
the thought process is we will wrap up the flogging rides and then we'll transition into that as opposed to doing the little curtain call a couple last times doing the flogging ride that's not the flogging ride kind of thing. I just get a little nervous about being out with traffic as the sun starts to get darker, and the fact that we can be on this smaller circuit where you can see everything, see all of the cars, and as it gets darker we can really gauge like, all right, we're going to call it tonight. We were going to do 10 laps, but maybe we're just going to do 9 because it's getting darker, and then we'll call it a day. I think that will be much safer for us and go and do that. The only thing is what are we going to name this thing? And Lance gave it the name. He wanted to call it the dump.
because it's right next to the dump.
Yeah. What are you doing? So I'm going to go take the dump.
Doing the dump.
Your Vantucky Hot Laps was another one. So we're going to come up with a name for it. We'll roll that out and go out there and have fun riding bikes. Sound fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys going to show up? Matt, you going to come out for that? Or is that still too sketchy?
I'm very interested in this for sure, and hopefully we can get it rolling before cross country because that'll be a hard stop for me.
Sweet. You know what? One last thing that I think Lance can actually jump on this. We've had so many people ask about this, and I just want to address it real quick, and Lance can probably talk about it better than I can. Cyclocross is coming up very, very soon. We typically, during the month of August, will do these cyclocross clinics. The person, Jerry Pruitt, who generally has these things up, has taken on a new job, and he is just absolutely buried, and it's crushing him inside that he can't be out there and do this, but he's still super supportive and wants us to continue doing it. Lance has kind of picked up the torch and run with it a little bit.
Although we're hoping to start those like right away. I'm gone for the next 2.5 weeks.
But I'm sure we can find some people to step up, and I can even come out and try and help them. Part of the problem was like we typically do these on Mondays, but we've had short track, which is running later than it normally does because they're just putting in a different time spot. So now that short track is over, we're talking about having these on Mondays.
Yep.
And we've secured a brand new location. We just got the blessing, and I'll let you run with this, Lance.
Yeah, so we have traditionally done these out at Vancouver Lake because there's great places where we could ride out there, but it is much harder for everybody to get out there. So we found a new venue at the VIC, the Vancouver what's it called?
Innovation Center?
Vancouver Innovation Center. It is.
It's the old Hewlett Packard Center.
Yeah.
That they sold that off and they're breaking it up and there's a bunch of businesses in there. But it's a massive campus. It's like 75 acres or something like
and
that.
There's a big parking lot and there's a huge like grassy area with a couple of hills and some sandy areas where we can actually get some really good cross skills. And this location is only like less than a mile from the Dialed Cycling Lab. So it's much closer for people to get out there. So we should be able to start these clinics. We're hoping next
we've
Monday.
worked with our juniors out here for years now.
Yes.
And we had to go out and get insurance and do all the fun things, which has worked out well. They've given us their blessing and there haven't been any issues. It's kind of a neat little 1 mile, like.
Is that where we were last year?
Yeah.
doing that?
So it's
Okay,
like a little
gotcha.
1 mile-ish loop that goes around. It's all paved, which is kind of neat, but they've got a lot of other features out there that you could have fun with.
Yeah, big grassy area that we should be able to do all sorts of good cross skills on.
Sweet.
So we'll be doing that. Paul First is also going to be helping quite a bit with that as
good.
well. So we're just hoping that we can start ramping those up and we can start those next Monday now that short track is over and we'll roll from there.
Good times. We will post up all the details on Strava. You can, if you join the Dialed Cycling on Strava, you'll get the invite to come out to that. Plus, we'll post it up on social medias for everybody to kind of see and have it linked up. Be good to go. What's that you say? It's raining outside? What the heck? All right, boys. Anything else to say? This one's getting to be a little bit long. Anything?
Of course, it's long. I can't stop talking about myself.
Shut up, Jackals. All right, boys. Matt, thank you for joining us. Hope you avoid all of the fun COVID stuff.
We'll make out later.
I do need to chat with you about some new things that are coming down the pipeline. Some new wearable stuff that might be coming out in the near future. So, all right, we do appreciate everybody listening. We'll be back next week with another one of these. Until then, bye for now.
Brake check. Make sure they are firm and check your pads to ensure they are good.